Memphis, Tennessee, January 14, 2014. The doctor's office was on the second floor of a medical building on Poplar Avenue, 3 blocks from the hospital where B.B. King had been born 88 years earlier. The waiting room had magazines from the previous month, and chairs upholstered in a neutral beige, and a receptionist who had been working there for 11 years, and who recognized B.B. King when he came in and said nothing about it, which he appreciated. Dr. Marcus Webb was 52 years old, a cardiologist who had been treating B.B. for 4 years with the particular combination of professional directness and personal warmth that the best doctors develop when they have been managing serious conditions for long enough to know that the management relationship matters as much as the medication. He was a man who told the truth clearly and without cruelty, which is a rarer skill than it sounds. He told the truth now. The diabetes had progressed. The neuropathy in the hands was worse than the previous assessment. The cardiac indicators from the December tests showed stress patterns that needed to be taken seriously. The cumulative picture, Dr. Webb said, was of a body that had been working very hard for a very long time and was beginning to present a bill. The touring schedule, Dr. Webb said. He had a folder open in front of him. 212 shows last year. 214, B.B. said. Dr. Webb looked at him. I keep count, B.B. said pleasantly. Mr. King. Dr. Webb closed the folder. He had learned over 4 years that direct was the only language worth using with this particular patient. The touring needs to stop, not reduce. Stop. You need rest, consistent rest. Your body is telling you something very specific and I need you to hear it. B.B. looked at him. He looked at the folder. He looked at his hands, which were resting on his knees, the large, powerful hands that had been playing guitar since 1943, that had produced the vibrato that had defined American blues for 7 decades, that were now showing, to anyone who looked carefully, the particular effects of neuropathy. He flexed his fingers once slowly. How long do I have? He said. Dr. Webb was quiet for a moment. He had been asked this question many times in 26 years of practice, and he had learned that there was no universal answer and no universal way to give the answer you had. If you stop touring and follow the management plan, he said carefully, you could have several good years. If you continue at this pace, he stopped. If I continue at this pace, B.B. said. The risk increases significantly. Every show is a physical demand that your body is increasingly. How many shows do I have booked? B.B. said. He was not asking Dr. Webb. He was asking himself or asking the air. I don't know, Dr. Webb said, but I'm asking you not to do them. B.B. nodded. He stood slowly, the way he always stood from low chairs, deliberate, using his hands on the armrests, taking the time the body required. He put on his jacket. He shook Dr. Webb's hand. Thank you, he said. You're a good doctor. He walked out. His road manager, a man named LaRon who had been with him for 7 years, and had the particular set of a jaw that comes from managing someone who does not always do what is recommended, was waiting in the car. B.B. got in. He sat for a moment without speaking. How'd it go? LaRon said. He said I should stop, B.B. said. LaRon nodded slowly. He had been expecting something like this. And B.B. looked out the window at the Memphis January, the gray sky, the bare trees, the city he had come from and come back to more times than he could count. He thought about the first time he had played on Beale Street in 1949, for tips, the guitar borrowed, the room small and the crowd small and the music enormous. He thought about every stage he had stood on since then, the thousands of them, in every city, in every country, in every configuration from a bar with 10 seats to a stadium with 60,000. He thought about what happened when he played, not what happened to him, what happened in the room, what happened to the people in it, the particular thing that occurred when the music found the people who needed it, which was every night without exception, because the blues had always been the music for people who needed something the ordinary world was not providing. He thought about the faces. He always came back to the faces. "How many shows do we have booked?" he said. LaRon hesitated. He knew the answer. He also knew what the answer would produce. 87, he said, through October. BB was quiet for a moment. "Cancel 20, he said. "Space them out more recovery time between dates." He looked at LaRon. "But we play." LaRon looked at him. We play," BB said, simply, the way he said things when they were not discussions. "The doctor told me what my body needs. I heard him. But those 87 cities have people in them who bought tickets, who made plans, who need—" He stopped. He looked back out the window. "Who need what we give them. I'm not going to disappoint them because I'm old." LaRon said nothing for a moment. He had known B.B. King for 7 years, and he had never found an argument that moved him when he had decided something. He had also never found a reason to stop trying. "And when it gets too hard," LaRon said. B.B. looked at him. The warm, round face, the gray hair, the eyes that had been watching the world for 88 years and had not stopped finding it worth watching. "When it gets too hard," he said, "we'll know." He looked back out the window. The Memphis January was doing what Memphis January does, gray and honest. The city laid out in its winter plainness. The river somewhere behind the buildings carrying whatever the river carries regardless of what happens on the streets above it. He thought about Dr. Webb's face when he said the numbers. 214 shows. The doctor had looked at the folder. BB had looked at his hands. The hands were the thing. The neuropathy was in the hands. He could feel it in the mornings, the particular absence of sensation that was not pain but was adjacent to pain, the way numbness is adjacent to feeling. He had adapted his playing to it over the past 2 years in ways that only he and perhaps LaRon, and perhaps 1 or 2 of the musicians who played close enough to hear everything could detect. The vibrato was adjusted. The grip was slightly different. The relationship between his left hand and the strings was conducted through a layer of reduced sensation that he worked around every night. He still sounded like himself. That was what mattered. He still sounded like B.B. King, which meant he still sounded like the blues, which meant the people in the seats received what they had come for. As long as that was true. The neuropathy was a fact he managed, rather than a verdict he obeyed. "Drive," he said. The first show of the 2014 tour was in Shreveport, Louisiana on February 7th. It went well. BB played for 90 minutes, shorter than his old sets, the show structured differently than it had been structured in the years when 90 minutes was a warm-up. But the music was there. The vibrato was there. The room was there. The second show was in Baton Rouge. The third in New Orleans. They moved up through the South in the February cold. The tour bus carrying BB and LaRon and the band through the flat landscapes and the city lights and the particular American geography of the road. The diners and the motels and the loading docks behind venues and the specific hours of a touring life that BB had been living since 1956. He slept when he could. He ate carefully the way Dr. Webb had asked. He took the medications at the times they were supposed to be taken. He did not drink. He had not drunk in years. What he could not do was rest in the way Dr. Webb had meant, the deep, consecutive, recuperative rest of a body that has stopped demanding things of itself. Because the tour was demanding things. Every show demanded things. The bus demanded things. The schedule demanded things. His body was keeping score. By March, in the middle of a run through the Midwest, LaRon noticed things. Small things, each one individually accountable to the ordinary variables of touring, a long drive, a bad night's sleep, the cold weather. But accumulated, they formed a pattern that LaRon recognized and did not like. BB was slower getting on and off the bus. He was slower getting to the stage. During shows, there were moments, brief, recoverable, when something flickered across his face that was not performance and was not emotion, and was not anything LaRon had a comfortable word for. He brought it up one night in the tour bus, parked behind a venue in Indianapolis after the show. "I need you to tell me how you're feeling," LaRon said. BB looked at him. "You need me to tell you something you already know," he said. "Then tell me." "Tired," BB said, not the word as complaint, the word as fact offered plainly the way he offered facts. "But the shows are good. You know the shows are good." "The shows are great," LaRon said. "That's not the point." "That is the point," BB said. He said it without heat. "That is exactly the point. When I'm on that stage, something happens that cannot happen anywhere else. Not for me and not for the people in those seats. I know what Dr. Webb said. I know what my body is doing. And I know what happens when I play. I'm choosing the last one for as long as I can." LaRon looked at him for a long moment. Then he looked at his scheduling notebook. Then he looked back at BB. "Sleep," LaRon said. "Right now, I'll handle the loadout." BB nodded. He was already tired enough that he did not argue. He was asleep in 10 minutes, in the back of the tour bus parked behind an Indianapolis venue, with the sounds of the crew breaking down the stage coming faintly through the walls. The night it happened was in Chicago. April 14, 2014. The Chicago Theater on North State Street. A landmark building, 3,600 seats, the kind of room that BB had played many times and that held a specific resonance for him. Chicago was the city of chess records, of muddy waters, of the blues tradition that had run parallel to his own for 60 years. He had been feeling the difference all day. Not dramatically, he had long since passed the point of dramatic variations. Just a quality of heaviness that was slightly more than the usual heaviness, the body's systems running at a slightly lower register. He had considered, for perhaps 30 seconds, mentioning it to LaRon. He had decided not to. The show opened well. The band was tight. The audience at the Chicago Theater was the specific kind of Chicago audience, knowledgeable, invested, the kind of crowd that does not scream at the first song and is still listening hard at the last. BB played the first 4 songs from his stool, the way he always did now, and the room received each one with the particular warmth of people who have been coming to see B.B. King for years and know what they are receiving. In the middle of the 5th song, Sweet 16, a song he had been playing since 1960, something happened. It was not a collapse in the dramatic sense. It was a sudden, total depletion, the body running out of the particular fuel it needed to sustain what was being asked of it, the systems that had been running at a slightly lower register all day finally reaching the threshold where they could no longer compensate. His vision narrowed slightly. His hands, on Lucille's strings, lost the thread of the phrase they had been playing. He stopped. The note stopped and the phrase stopped and the song stopped in the middle of a bar. The silence arriving the way silence arrives when music that was there isn't, not gradually but suddenly, a presence replaced by an absence. The band stopped behind him. They watched him. Every one of them knew. They had been watching the signs for months, the small signs that added up to a picture, and they had played through every show because the music was there and BB was there, and when both of those things were true you played. Now they stopped and watched. The 3,600 people in the Chicago Theater went very quiet. Not the polite quiet of an audience being respectful. The real quiet. The held-breath quiet of people who understand that something is happening that they are not supposed to see and are seeing anyway and cannot look away. B.B. King sat on his stool on the stage of the Chicago Theater and breathed. He held Lucille in his hands with the grip that had held her for 60 years, and he breathed, and he looked at the floor of the stage, and he let whatever needed to happen happen, which was that his body was finally, clearly, completely communicating something that could not be ignored or managed or adapted around or gotten through by sheer accumulated willpower. LaRon was moving toward the stage from the wings. BB saw him coming and raised one hand just slightly, just enough, which was the signal they had agreed upon months ago, which meant, "I see you. Give me a moment." LaRon stopped. The 3,600 people were still very quiet. BB breathed. Then he looked up. He looked out at the Chicago theater, the 3,600 faces in the dim house light, all of them focused on him with the particular quality of attention that an audience gives when something real is happening and they understand it, and are not sure what to do with understanding it. He adjusted his position on the stool. He put his hands back on Lucille. He found the string. He found the fret. He played the note he had stopped on. Bent it upward, let the vibrato bloom, held it. Held it. Held it. 3,600 people exhaled at the same time. BB played the rest of Suite 16. He played the next 4 songs. He played for 40 more minutes, and the music was the music it had always been, not perfect, not the music of a man at 30, but the music of a man who had decided what mattered and was spending what he had on it. When the last note of the last song faded, the Chicago theater gave B.B. King a standing ovation that lasted 8 minutes, not because he had played the best show of his career, because they had watched him choose to finish. LaRon was at the stage stairs when B.B. came off. He didn't say anything. He put his hand on B.B.'s arm and they walked to the dressing room together, and LaRon closed the door behind them, and B.B. sat down heavily in the chair. "I know," B.B. said. "I know you know," LaRon said. They sat together for a while without speaking. LaRon had a bottle of water and B.B. drank it slowly. "We still have 34 shows," LaRon said finally. B.B. looked at him, the tired eyes, the gray hair, the large, powerful hands resting in his lap. "How many of them can we do right?" he said. LaRon thought about it. "Maybe 20, he said honestly. B.B. nodded. "Then we do 20, he said. "Right." They did 22. B.B. King played his final concert on October 3, 2014, in Chicago, the same city where he had chosen to finish when the body said stop, and the music said continue, and he had listened to the music. He died on May 14, 2015 in Las Vegas, Nevada. He was 89 years old. Between the doctor's office on Poplar Avenue in Memphis on January 14, 2014, and the final concert on October 3, 2014, in Chicago, B.B. King played 101 shows. He played them in Louisiana and Mississippi and Tennessee and Illinois and Ohio and Indiana and Texas and California, and a dozen other states, in venues that ranged from 2,000 seats to 8,000, to audiences who had in many cases been coming to see him for 30 and 40 years. He played them in the condition he was in, which was the condition of a man in his late 80s whose body had been demanding things of itself since 1943, and was presenting its bill, slowly, cumulatively, with the relentless arithmetic of time applied to a body that had never been given adequate rest. He played them because the people in the seats needed what the music gave them. He played them because he had believed since 1949, with the borrowed guitar on Beale Street, that the purpose of the music was to reach the people who needed it. And he played them because he had been given a gift, the gift of being able to give something to other people that they could not give themselves, and he was not willing to stop giving it while he still had it to give. Some things are worth finishing. Some people know what those things are and finish them. If there has ever been something you kept going with when stopping would have been easier and more reasonable, drop it in the comments. I read every one. And which B.B. King song do you hear when you need to keep going? I'd rather wear out than rust out. B.B. King.